Hi, my name is Mary. My parents divorced a long time ago, and I stayed to live with my mom. I didn't remember anything about my dad, didn't know his phone number or where he lived. I only secretly kept his photo, which I found when I was a kid. One day, I came back from school and saw that mom was in a good mood. That was unusual. She had been complaining a lot lately. Mom worked in a small theater, and we were always short of money. She really worried about it. Then I saw a gorgeous bouquet of roses on the table. Who are the flowers from? Oh, it's just a gift from someone. The next day, it happened again. Except instead of roses, Mom got lilies. She started to often receive gifts and looked happy. I suspected she found a boyfriend. It didn't bother me. In fact, I'd long dreamed of having a full family. I wanted Mom to be happy. Soon, my guesses were confirmed. We're having a guest tonight. Please behave. In the evening, my mother's boyfriend came over. His name was Steve. He owned a large company and was very rich. Everything after that happened quickly. Before I knew it, my mom and I had moved into his house. Besides a stepfather, I now had 2 stepbrothers. Everything was going well, except I couldn't find a common language with them. I'd always been a party girl and a rebel. I would steal answers for my class from the teacher's room and make everyone laugh with my pranks. My classmates adored me. However, my stepbrothers turned out to be my complete opposite. They were such snobs. One day, I decided to change that and mess with them. I sneakily added food coloring to their toothpaste, and after they brushed their teeth, they turned multicolored. I thought it was hilarious, but they didn't like it. Nerds. Next, I snuck into their room. While my brothers were sleeping, I taped their sneakers to the floor with double-sided tape. When they put their sneakers on and tried to walk out of the room, they fell. I peeked around the corner and laughed. This isn't funny. Your pranks are dumb. What's going on here? Mary, did you do this? It's just a prank. Don't ever do this again. Am I clear? Long story short, my new relatives turned out to be very boring. Steve told Mom about what happened and she scolded me. You shouldn't act like this. We got very lucky and we cannot miss this chance. You don't want to be poor again and go back to living our old life, do you? I got angry. I didn't do anything wrong. Your money and new husband are more important to you than me. We had a fight and didn't talk to each other for several days. Soon, Steve bought Mom a role in a Broadway musical. She became really famous. However, as soon as her career took off, Mom stopped spending time with me. After a while, I started noticing that Mom seemed worried. I saw her decline someone's calls several times and act very nervous afterward. Is something wrong? It's none of your business. That pissed me off, and I didn't ask her any more questions. I came home from school early one day and accidentally overheard her and Steve talking. I thought I could raise someone else's child, but Mary is simply uncontrollable. Let's send her to a private boarding school. What? I choked with indignation. Well, never mind. Mom would put him in his place. You're right. I think that would be best for everyone. I couldn't believe my ears. Of course, I wasn't about to let that slide. I walked into the living room and threw a fit. I'm not going anywhere. Yes, you are. You're a child and you'll do whatever we say. Yeah, right. My stepfather clearly didn't know me well. The next morning, I tried to sneak out of the house. I got up early and almost got to the door when Steve suddenly blocked my way. Where are you going? I knew you'd cause trouble again. I couldn't escape and was sent to the boarding school after all. I didn't even know such schools still existed. What were we, in the Middle Ages? The way the school looked wasn't even the worst part. The students turned out to be absolutely terrible. They all wore uniforms, constantly read textbooks, and seemed terribly arrogant. Even my stepbrothers were better. The teachers and the principal acted like prison wardens. Everything was forbidden there, even listening to music. Can you imagine? To say that I was angry at Mom and Steve would be to say nothing. Mom got a swollen head and forgot about me, and Steve simply hated me. I came up with a revenge plan. Naturally, I didn't want to stay at that school and decided to get expelled. My family would lose their minds. First, I waited until nightfall and made my way to the academic building. I went into the bathroom, plugged up the sink, and turned on the water. The next morning, there was a flood. The classes were disrupted and the principal and teachers were furious. Who did this? Her gaze lingered on me and I smiled defiantly. I was called to her office, scolded, and punished with cleaning up. The next day, I poured red paint into the pool and threw feathers from a pillow into the water. When we came to the pool for the gym class, all the girls screamed in horror. God, I'll never swim here again! I'm going to faint! I giggled, and the teacher immediately realized I was to blame for everything. I was sent back to the principal. She made me clean up again and gave me additional tasks. When I came to class, I was met by our disgruntled class rep. "You're a disgrace to our school. There is no place for scum here." Are you talking about yourself? I wanted to hit her with something heavy, but tried to hold back. The class rep infuriated other students as well. She terrorized all her classmates. I decided to teach her a lesson and soon had the opportunity. I accidentally found out she was scared to death of spiders. I got an idea and slipped a large toy spider into her bag. Before the lesson, that arrogant girl was about to get her textbooks out when she suddenly jumped up from her seat. Everyone died laughing at her. After that incident, some of my classmates began to help me. The class rep complained about me to the principal. I was scolded again, but all they did was punish me. Okay, it's time to try something new. I remembered that my mother had a cousin she didn't get along with. That cousin always used any excuse to get on her nerves. She worked as a journalist for a news outlet. I contacted her and told her something about Mom. She became famous thanks to her role in the musical, and now everyone is talking about her beauty. But that beauty is artificial. It's all just silicone. She got a lot of plastic surgery. My mother's cousin was very pleased and promised to write an article about it soon. She hadn't seen my mom in a while, so she easily believed my story. After the article came out, I didn't stop and called the journalist again. Mom doesn't care about me at all. She chose her career over her own daughter. By the way, my stepfather is a tyrant. He constantly mocks me, and yet he bought a role for Mom in that musical. The articles turned out to be really scathing. Mom's cousin made my mom and stepfather look like terrible people. The other magazines found that story interesting as well. Soon, Mom was all over the news. Meanwhile, I was rubbing my hands like a villain. One day, the principal called me to her office in the middle of the lesson. I thought she was going to tell me off again, but instead saw Mom and Steve. They both looked unhappy. "You told all those terrible things to that journalist. Do you think it's funny? You put my reputation and business at risk. You shouldn't have got rid of me. If you don't stop, I'll do something worse to you." The most annoying thing was that Mom stayed silent and didn't even try to stand up for me. I even wanted to record Steve's threats and send the recording to my mom's cousin, but I immediately changed my mind. I wouldn't stoop to his level. We argued some more and they left. I continued to rebel and hoped that I would be expelled soon. But no matter what I did, it didn't happen. However, they took away my phone and internet access. Life at the boarding school was becoming unbearable. There was only one way out. I had to escape. I was forbidden from leaving the school's territory, so I couldn't do it without help. I talked to a couple of girls who liked me. One of them distracted the class rep, and the other the principal. I quickly made my way to the principal's office and got my phone back. Then I crept to the exit and went out the gate. Hooray! Freedom! By evening, I felt hungry instead of euphoric. I had very little money left, so I had to save up. I went into a 24-hour diner, ordered a Coke with a burger, and quietly took a nap at the table. I spent the next day wandering around the city. It was so strange. My mom got rich, but I lived on the street. I had to spend another night in the cafe. The morning after that, I felt completely wrecked. Mom kept calling me, but I didn't pick up the phone. I had to think of what to do, but going home wasn't an option. I came into a store to buy a snack and suddenly noticed a rack of magazines. One of them had a photo of my mom on the cover. It turned out that another article about her had been published the day before. The journalist who wrote it got wind of my escape from the boarding school, and Child Services had already visited my mom. They wanted to take away her parental rights since she couldn't deal with her unruly daughter. I didn't know how to react to that. On the one hand, I got my revenge, but on the other hand, I hadn't wanted things to go that far. I left the store and was walking down the street, lost in thought, when a car suddenly stopped next to me. A man got out of it, and I was stunned and froze in place. Wasn't that my father? I recognized him from the photograph I'd secretly kept under my pillow for many years. My daughter. I finally found you. He quickly embraced me. I hesitantly hugged him back. Let's go to my place. I'll explain everything. At home, Dad fed me a delicious lunch and gave me a separate room to relax in. Even though I was tired, I decided to talk right away. Where have you been all these years? Why didn't you contact me? It's because of your mother. We had a bad breakup. She's always been selfish and arrogant. After the divorce, she took you and disappeared. She did everything so that I wouldn't find you. You can't imagine how I suffered. I didn't give up and kept trying to find you. When she became famous, I found her phone number. I kept calling and asking her to let me meet you, but she didn't want us to see each other. I was really surprised. How could Mom do that? I decided to stay with him. Dad turned out to be loving and caring. He had his own company, but he still found time for me. One day, he started talking about Mom again. You could stay with me for good, unless, of course, you want to go back to your mom. I didn't want that, and was still very angry with Mom. I had some doubts, but eventually agreed. Soon, my mom lost her parental rights, and my father took custody of me. We even celebrated it at a small restaurant. I was about to go back to school when I suddenly noticed my mother at the door. She was shouting something. I wanted to go out and talk to her, but Dad wouldn't let me and went himself. He said something to her and Mom left. A couple of days later, she came back. Dad sent her away again. Maybe I should talk to her after all. What if she wants to ask for my forgiveness? Dad gave me a strange look. Mary, I don't want to upset you, but here. He gave me a fresh magazine. The news column said that Steve had dumped my mom. She lost her job in the theater because of her bad reputation and was left without any money. Your mom wants to get you back so that I would send her child support. She has absolutely nothing to live on. She said it herself. Mom's duplicity made me furious. I felt both angry and wronged. Why was she like that? I did the right thing by running away. That's what I thought until something changed. More precisely, someone. Dad started acting weird. He often snapped at me and forbade me from doing everything. One day, I was about to go for a walk with friends, but he yelled at me and made me stay at home. A couple of days later, I was leaving for school when he suddenly stopped me. Where are you going? To school. In this? Don't wear such short skirts. One day, I stayed at school after classes and came back home later than usual. Where the hell were you? He grabbed my hand, pushed me into my room, and locked the door. I knocked and demanded he let me out, but he didn't listen to me. My life turned into a nightmare, and my loving father turned into a real tyrant. Steve was an angel compared to him. I also noticed that Dad kept arguing with someone over the phone. Some suspicious people often came to our house. One day, I overheard their conversations and began to suspect that Dad's business wasn't completely legal. I didn't know what to do. But then, one day, I was leaving school when I saw my former stepbrothers by the entrance. Hello. Can we talk? We walked away from the school and sat on a bench. Our father can be tough to deal with, but we are still on good terms with your mother. We know she lost her parental rights, and we want to tell you something. Even when you lived with us, someone kept calling your mother. I know, it was my father. Mom didn't want me to talk to him. And for good reason. One day, we overheard their conversation. He insulted your mom and threatened to take you away by force. Mom sent you to the boarding school to protect you. And now, she really wants you to come back. She loves you. I was shocked and looked at the situation from a different angle. After all, I'd immediately believed my father when he'd accused my mother of all those things. It hadn't even occurred to me he could be lying. I didn't want to live with him anymore. I'd made a mistake, but it was never too late to fix everything. I wanted my mother's parental rights to be returned, so I started spying on Dad. I eavesdropped on his conversations and recorded them. I also took photos of people who came to our house. One day, I snuck into Dad's office and heard footsteps outside the door. Damn it! Dad must have come home earlier than expected. As soon as I got under the table, he walked in. He came up to the safe, entered the code, and put something inside. I watched him and memorized the code. After he left, I opened the safe and found some documents there. Why had my father hidden them in the safe? Were they important? Just in case, I took a photo of them. Then I left the office and locked myself in my room. That evening, I sent all the recordings and photos to the police and child services. I also told them that my father was hurting me. The next morning, I went down to breakfast. When I walked into the kitchen, my dad suddenly grabbed me. He was beside himself with rage. There is a camera in my office. You were there yesterday. I saw you. Who did you send those photos to? He looked and sounded really scary. I broke free and started running away. He rushed after me. I didn't know what would have happened if the cops hadn't burst in at that moment. Some people from the guardianship authorities walked in after them. The cops searched the house and arrested Dad. It turned out that he was running an illegal business and committing fraud. They were going to send me to an orphanage. No, please, let me go back to my mom. She wasn't really doing anything wrong. I was just rebelling and lying about her. I promise I won't do it again. As a result, I managed to convince the child services. My mother's parental rights were returned and I moved back home. As soon as Mom saw me, she started crying. I've missed you so much. I'm sorry. I've been hiding from your father all these years. He was a terrible person. He constantly insulted me and was jealous of everyone who came close to me. I took you and ran away right after the divorce. However, when I became famous, he found my phone number. He started calling and threatening me. I wanted to protect you, so I went to the boarding school. At that moment, Steve's money was our only protection. I know, Mom. I'm sorry too. We cleared everything up and grew closer. By the way, it might be hard to believe, but all the bad publicity played into Mom's hands. She got a job offer from a theater that was famous for scandalous plays. She agreed and her popularity skyrocketed. Her cousin tried to write some nasty articles about her, but they no longer mattered. Now, Mom earns good money and spends a lot of it on me. I still talk to my former stepbrothers. I apologized for my pranks and thank them for their help. By the way, I'm also thinking of becoming an actress in the future. Do you think I can do it?